Hi, it's Angela from Healthy Hearties. I'm a cardiac nurse and an exercise coach, and I want to help people feel as great as they can when they have a heart condition. So today's video is all about an ablation, what to expect before, during and after the procedure. So an ablation is a procedure used to treat an arrhythmia. The most common ablation that occurs is for atrial fibrillation, or AF. So it's usually performed when people have tried medication or they're having really troublesome symptoms, and this is the next step to try and get rid of that arrhythmia. So what to expect? So you're going to arrive at hospital. Usually you'll be fasting, so you would have not had food for several hours. Usually you can drink water up until a few hours before. So check with your hospital, make sure you know what time you need to stop eating and drinking. When you arrive at hospital, they'll get you into a hospital gown, they'll do an ECG, so a blood pressure check, check your temperature, your height, your weight, and get you some blood tests as well if you haven't already had those in pre-op. They'll ask you a few questions, get your consent, talk through what to expect for the procedure, and then they'll get you down into the cath lab. So that's where the procedure takes place. When you get to the cath lab, there'll be a nurse to check off all of your paperwork again and check if you have any allergies and make sure that you've consented to have that procedure. When you get into the cath lab, there will be lots of people around, so don't be alarmed that they're all there for you. You are the most important person in that room for the day, and so there will be lots of people there looking after you. So you will have the cardiologist or the electrophysiologist looking after you from doing the actual procedure himself or herself. You'll have some cardiac technicians or cardiac physiologists, so they will be helping the cardiologist to treat the arrhythmia. You'll have some scrub nurses and some anaesthetic nurses looking after you and helping out with the procedure. And then you may have an anaesthetist as well if you're having a heavy sedation or a general anaesthetic. So just depends on the cardiologist what they choose to do, and in discussion with you whether you have a sedation or a general anaesthetic. So you're either knocked out completely, or you may just be a little bit sleepy, but you're aware of what's going on. So talk to your cardiologist about which one you will be having. Now, in terms of the actual procedure itself, first of all, we start off by giving you some medication to make you comfortable, and that is done through a drip, usually in the hand, or it might be in the wrist, and they give you some medication to make you a little bit drowsy. If you're having a general anaesthetic, here's where you fall asleep. You don't need to know about this next part. So then if you are still awake or you want to know all about it, what they will do is do some local anaesthetic to the top of the groin, and they will put in a catheter which will come up and travel and look at the heart itself. So that's where the cardiologist will be able to see what is going on in the heart. So what they do is it's called mapping, and what they're looking for is those extra heartbeats and that arrhythmia. Where is it coming from inside of the heart? So it does take quite a lot of time to find out where that exact electrical pathway is coming from. And then once they've found it and they've mapped the exact spot, that's when the ablation will occur. So it will either be by freezing or by heat. So it just depends on your arrhythmia and your hospital and your cardiologist which type he or she chooses to do. So what happens afterwards? You'll wake up, or you'll go over to recovery, where you'll wake up fully and they make sure that you're feeling comfortable, you're not in pain, and that you're not feeling sick. Most of the time you wake up in about 20 to 30 minutes, and then they send you back up to the hospital ward, where you're on bed rest for several hours. Reason for that is that groin, it's a large hole, so that is where they've punctured. It's a large blood vessel and we don't want that bleeding. So they will apply some pressure. You may have a little device that is putting pressure on that wound as well. and that is where they will be worried about the most. So they don't worry too much about the heart will be absolutely fine, but we worry about that groin side. So you'll be on bed rest until you're told that you can get up. Make sure that you're not bending those knees and not moving around too much in bed. Usually can eat and drink. After several hours, you will be able to get up, move around. Most hospitals, depending on the time of procedure, sometimes you can go home at the end of the day, other times they keep you overnight and you go home in the morning. So before you go home, they obviously want to check that you're feeling well, you're not in pain, and that your ECG is looking good. They'll tell you what medications you still need to go home with, and when they need to see you for a follow-up appointment. So all of those things, make sure you check with your hospital for specific instructions, and check in with your cardiologist if there's anything in particular that they want you to know about. When you go home, 3 to 4 days of not doing a lot, pottering around the house, lying on the couch watching TV. After 7 days, you're back up to your normal everyday activity. So that would be if you walk the dog, or you walk to the shops, or you need to go back to work. So I'd give it a good week before you're back to your normal activity. 2 weeks though before you do anything more strenuous like exercise, gardening, heavy lifting, or really long walking. So if you walk for 10 kilometers every now and then, give that at least 2 weeks. So that's it from me for today. I hope you found that interesting. Please do let me know if you have any questions at all about an ablation, the procedure, or AF, and pop them in the comments below. I'll see you over in the Healthy Hardies Facebook group. Come and check us out. Bye.